Okay, so I just watched Wakanda Forever. And before I say anything, this is going to contain spoilers. Lots of spoilers. So, first off, movie started off with the funeral. And I gotta admit, I was having trouble keeping it together throughout this film. Just because I had followed the news about Chadwick right when it happened. I was emotional, needless to say. So that whole starting part of the movie was hard. But it had to be done because I don't think you could have done that movie without addressing it, obviously. And then after the funeral scene, you have the UN scene. And the UN scene was just... This movie did a really good job at making scenes more intense and more emotional by not having background music, not having a whole bunch of chatter or extra Foley that wasn't needed. It was one of those movies that played really well on the sound design. And that scene where the mercenaries get brought in and basically they expose France for, going against it. And that whole scene, one, showed the power of the Queen of Wakanda, but also very much showed the intention of all the other nations. And from there on, you started to see this conflict between everyone thinking Wakanda was the one killing off federal agents, whereas it was, I don't even know what you call them. I want to say Atlanteans, because Tlalocans... Anyways, the people from Tlalocon, they were the ones doing this. They were consistently trying to stop the surface from finding vibranium under the ocean, which they ended up finding anyways, but that's another story. Now, from there, you learn that the machine that was used to find the vibranium was made by Riri Williams, which brings a second set of stakes in, because now Wakanda wants to get Riri to show to Tlalocon and Namor that they want to cooperate, they don't want war. But when they discover it's Riri, basically a 19-year-old girl in MIT, they're like, we can't do that. It's not some old guy. Or they're like, nope, we need to protect you. So they refuse to hand her over. There's a whole chase scene where the CIA is trying to capture the princess of Wakanda, and then those from Tlalocon come and basically kill the police and CIA there in the area, so no witnesses. And then they kidnap Shuri and Riri. And at that point, I'm going like, are we going to see Tlalocon? Are we going to see the actual city, or are they going to play more on the surface perspective? And for a while I thought they were going to keep it like that. They did end up showing Tlalocon, which it looked really nice and better than any Atlantis in any film prior, so I was really happy with how it looked. And I think it played really well in the Mayan history and art style, everything. It looked good. It looked really good. With that part of the storyline, they get saved, but in the process of them being saved from Namor, Nakia ends up killing a couple people, and that causes Namor to retaliate by attacking Wakanda. Oh, so in the comics, Namor can kind of control water. It's kind of like a waterbender. They did it differently in this film, and I think it was a good choice because the winged feet was already a stretch for a lot of people, but they had water bombs that they used for everything. They would just, this little bomb, water, So I feel like that was a good direction to take, and it also makes it more of their technology rather than a mutant superpower. But yeah, he attacks Wakanda, and in the attack of Wakanda, he ends up killing the queen. And then you get Shuri's transformation, where she is so filled with this desire for vengeance, and then she finally discovers how to make the heart-shaped herb, the synthetic one, and she becomes the Black Panther. However, when she went to the ancestral plane, she saw Killmonger, and that was just one of those, it was a theory I had based on the gold on her suit, that whoever was going to become Black Panther, they were going to have that desire that Killmonger had, to basically fight and kill, and it was because of those that had died before. So I'm happy I was right about that, but I'm sad I didn't record me being right about it, so I wasn't right about it because I didn't record it. But you have that whole scene, and it really shows how far Shuri is willing to go for her vengeance. She discovers Namor's weakness with Riri, where he takes in oxygen through his skin. So if you dry out his skin, he can't take in oxygen, and it makes him weaker. So they have this whole fight scene, and they basically separate Namor from his army and throw him into a desert, and it's a really cool fight scene. Shuri has a moment where she's stabbed through the chest with raw vibranium. That was pretty intense. I thought they were actually going to kill her off. I was like, they might actually just discontinue this version of Black Panther. But no, they continued it. And from there, you kind of got the idea that Namor and Shuri will be more like rivals or anti-hero dynamic, where Namor isn't necessarily a villain. He is a villain in this movie. Like, he 100% is a villain in this movie because he kills a lot of people, and he definitely has that just raw vengeance mentality for the surface world. So that to me is like he ended up being the villain. I didn't think he would be the villain, but it makes sense for this film. I'm a little sad that they didn't delve into Tlaalocan or other people from Tlaalocan that much. There's Atuma and I can't remember her name, but they have stories in the comics, and there could be more dynamic, more information on them. Maybe we'll get it in the future, but I feel kind of bad that we didn't get more explanation on who they were, because they were shown to be important characters to Namor, but you don't really know about them that much. The first Black Panther movie did a really good job getting you affiliated with all the characters around T'Challa in the throne room. All, like, not necessarily the elders, but, you know. And I feel like this movie didn't do that as much for Namor and his circle. So hopefully we see more about them in the future. The movie kind of comes to a close with Namor and Shuri coming to peace, and then it kind of cuts off a trial on who's going to be the next king of Wakanda. I think we all know who it's going to be, but we'll see in the future. Riri gets sent back to MIT after all this mess, and the suit that she had created, which I forgot to mention, she created a vibranium suit. The suit she created to fight against Tlaalocan and Namor had to be left in Wakanda, so for her series, she's probably going to be making another suit. Another suit, because her first suit got destroyed, vibranium suit's left in Wakanda, probably making another suit. So we'll see. And you have Shuri burning her funeral gown, and that was kind of her, like, ending the chapter on T'Challa. Then we have Nakia coming in and saying, "Here, I have a son. I have a son. That's cool. That's cool." With T'Challa, and his name is T'Challa. So maybe he becomes Black Panther. I think that really is just leaving the door open for Marvel rather than saying this is going to be Black Panther in the future. I think that's kind of where they're sitting with that. And that ended. It was really emotional. And yeah, the movie itself felt really well paced. There was never a moment in the movie where I was kind of bored or felt like I was getting overstimulated by random action, which happens in Marvel films sometimes, where there's just so much condensed action scenes and quips. The movie loses all meaning, for at least for those scenes. This movie did a really good job at staying serious and not pulling you down with the seriousness. It's a weird way to put it, but I think this movie was like grief counseling for MCU fans, and it really went through all the stages. And I think a lot of longtime MCU fans will watch this movie and there'll be a sense of peace, but, you know, it's hard to be happy after leaving a movie like that, because, yeah, it addressed some really real things that happened. So, yeah, it was a really good movie. Like I said, the only thing I wish they did more was explain people around Namor and kind of explain that situation more, because we got his story, but we didn't really learn about anyone else, so we couldn't really care about his side. It didn't feel like two, like, sounds weird to say this, it didn't feel like two human armies fighting. It felt like the standard Marvel human army, or, you know, a good people army versus alien monster army, which I didn't really like that that's how it played out. I wish we had learned more about Atuma and the rest. Yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna end it. I'm excited to see more Marvel coming up, but I'm gonna sleep on this one because it was heavy. It was heavy, and I went in knowing that that's what it was gonna be like, and I feel like it did it well. It did Chadwick justice. I want to thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna be posting more videos in the future, and I will be talking more about this movie and implications going forward. But like I said, I'm gonna just rest on it, relax tonight, and tomorrow we'll pick it up and start going through what this movie means for the MCU. So yeah, have a good night, good morning, whatever time it is. Bye.